After losing his wife Carrie Lowell to cancer, Sam Baldwin, a Chicago architect, consoles his 8-year-old son Jonah, warning him that it's difficult to comprehend why his mother had to pass away. He cautions Jonah that if he starts to ask that question, it could drive him insane. Seeking a fresh start, Sam decides to move with Jonah to Seattle, Washington. However, even after 16 months, Sam remains despondent, and Jonah is concerned about his father's well-being. On Christmas Eve, Jonah calls Dr. Marcia Fieldstone and asks for a new wife for his father. Dr. Fieldstone convinces Jonah to let his father speak to her. Although Sam is hesitant at first, he opens up to Dr. Fieldstone about his struggles and how he's been trying to take things one day at a time. He confesses that he doesn't believe he could ever love another woman, but acknowledges that it would be best for Jonah to have a mother figure in his life. When Dr. Fieldstone discovers that Sam is having trouble sleeping, she decides to nickname him Sleepless in Seattle. Jonah shares the address of Sleepless in Seattle with Dr. Fieldstone, who receives letters from numerous sympathetic women across the country. One of these women is Annie Reed, a journalist from Baltimore, Maryland. Annie is engaged to Walter, a man who is prone to allergies, but begins to question her future with him after listening to the show with Dr. Fieldstone. Although she writes a letter to Sam expressing her curiosity about their potential connection, Annie ultimately chooses not to send it. However, her friend and colleague, Becky, secretly mails the letter to Sam. While going through the massive pile of letters, Jonah stumbles upon Annie's message and interprets her admiration for Brooks Robinson, a player from the Baltimore Orioles, as a sign. Throughout the film, various signs and omens appear. Jonah urges his father to meet Annie at the top of the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day, as suggested in her letter. However, Sam declines, citing the distance as a barrier. Sam has been reluctant to date anyone, but his perspective changes when he discovers Jonah bonding with a bright young girl named Jessica while listening to records at home. He realizes the importance of finding a maternal figure for Jonah and decides to pursue women he already knows. Sam arranges a date with Victoria, an acquaintance from work. Jonah develops an immediate dislike for Victoria, as she was not his choice for Sam's potential partner and has an obnoxious, cackling laugh. Following Jessica's suggestion, Jonah writes a letter to Annie while pretending to be Sam, agreeing to meet her at the top of the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day. Annie decides to pursue a news story on Sleepless in Seattle, using the pretext of traveling to Chicago for an interview. She boards a flight to Seattle instead. By chance, Sam and Jonah are dropping Victoria off at the Seattle airport when Annie arrives at the same gate. Sam is immediately drawn to her, but loses sight of her in the bustling crowd. Annie rents a car and drives to Sam's house, where she observes him and Jonah sailing on a small boat close to the shore. Although she watches them from a distance, she refrains from approaching them. That night, Annie confides in Becky about her plan to talk to Sam the next day. The following day, as Annie begins to cross the street towards Sam, she catches sight of Sam embracing his sister, who has come to visit. Startled by a truck driver's horn, she pauses in the middle of the road. Sam notices her and approaches her, exchanging pleasantries. However, Annie ultimately feels foolish about her infatuation and decides to return to New York and Walter, concluding that Sam is already in a relationship. Jessica persuades Jonah to travel alone to New York to meet Annie since Sam refuses to go. She arranges a flight reservation for him and he successfully reaches New York. Taking a taxi to the Empire State Building, Jonah informs the driver that he's on his way to meet his prospective mother. After learning from Jessica about Jonah's whereabouts, Sam hurries to catch up to him. He eventually catches up to Jonah at the observation deck of the Empire State Building, where Jonah has been waiting patiently for Annie to arrive. As Annie dines with Walter in a high-rise building nearby, she recounts the entire Sleepless in Seattle story to him. Walter, realizing that he doesn't want to be someone Annie settles for, agrees to take back the engagement ring he had given her. Annie rushes over to the Empire State Building just in case Sam's letter was genuine. Unfortunately, Jonah and Sam are already on the elevator going down just as Annie exits the elevator she's on. They narrowly miss each other. However, Annie discovers Jonah's backpack with Howard, his teddy bear, inside. While pondering the backpack, Jonah and Sam return to the observation deck to retrieve it, and that's where they first see and meet Annie. As the observation floor of the Empire State Building is closing, Sam notices the guard getting anxious and suggests they leave. He extends his hand to Annie and asks, "Shall we?" As they exit the building, Jimmy Durante's "Make Someone Happy" begins to play, and the camera pans out to show the Empire State Building illuminated with red heart-shaped lights. The shot then zooms out further to reveal a view of the entire United States, with fireworks exploding in the sky. The scene fades to black as the movie ends.